Morning, everybody. It is the 12th of August, heading into downtown Clearwater for a meeting. And about a month ago, I had a meeting with a business owner. It was a lawn service. And I went out and met him. Young guy was doing about $500,000 in business and was doing install and he was doing maintenance, right? So, backstory. I was partner in a business like that long time ago, and one of the things I used to really drill into our operations was that our maintenance must always feed the installation. So, cautionary tale here. We met. He was excited. He was selling me how great his company is, and he shows me his financials, and he was losing money hand over fist. Look at my brand, look at my solar tools, look, I run my equipment on electric. I mean, he had all the bells and whistles, and he was so excited about the positioning of his company and all the value adds he brought, but he was losing money hand over fist. And those of us old enough to remember Ghostbusters, I'm going to give you a quip. Remember when they're going into the hotel, and I forget, was it Egon? Egon tells him not to cross the beams. Crossing the beams would be bad. Well, this kid was crossing the beams, meaning that his expenses was overriding his cash flow. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that, by the way, that's really, really bad. He was doing maintenance, and then he was doing these install jobs, and he was extending install terms to people. So he was laying out cash to buy supplies, doing the install, increasing his labor, and was sometimes not getting paid for 60 or 45 days. And he poo-pooed, which means he really didn't care or didn't focus on the maintenance, which was that which gave him the margin and the cash flow, the dollars to carry to do that 45 to 60 day payment terms. So he had this revenue growth, but he had no money in the bank. So, it is not uncommon for me to meet a business owner who has invested all this money in equipment and tools and toys and time, etc., and look at his revenue and go, look, my business is worth this multiple because my revenue is good. And me go, no, you're losing money, the patient's dying, and you're going to be dead in 60 days if you don't fix it. That's a shocker sometimes. Or it's denial. It's one or the other. And most of the time, I think it's denial. Because you call me because you know there's a problem. You call me to get you out of a problem. That's why the first thing I always ask you when I get there is what's going on. Kind of like a doctor-patient in the ER, right? What are your symptoms? And when I look at your balance sheet and I look at your financials, I'm looking at your blood tests and your symptoms, right? So, my recommendation was stop doing the freaking install, sell off all that crappy electric equipment, go get a gas mower, trade in that stuff you have that's screwing up operations, downsize the business, get your ass on the truck, and go cut grass. And in a year, you'll be able to climb out of this hole you're in. Thanks me for my time. I follow up the next day, follow up the day after that, it goes dark. Yesterday at 3 o'clock, I get an email from my office. Hey, call this guy. Same guy. By the way, there's a brake light in front of me. Same guy. So I call him and go, hey, we have a change of heart. He calls me back. He goes, I need out of this business right now. I'm in trouble. So I'm like, well, let's get it listed. Well, I got a meeting with someone tonight who's going to try and buy the equipment. So this is another problem. You're going to negotiate on your own behalf to do something because you don't want to spend the money on me or pay me to get you a better number. Tick tock, tick tock. I told you had 60 days. We're going in the middle of August, and it's a 5-week month, by the way, which means there's going to be 5 weeks of labor expenses that he can't cover. By the way, last night he told me he couldn't pay his people for 3 weeks. So you think they showed up for work to cut the grass? What do you think is going to happen to the maintenance accounts? So his solution is to sell his equipment on his own last night. So let's get into the psychology of why people fixate on revenue like it's going to solve your problems. Let's try and think of a good analogy. For some reason, what's popping in my head is the bodybuilder who keeps lifting weights and getting bigger and bigger, and then dies at an early age because of steroid use, or a heart infection, or lots of issues with their knees. Think of Hulk Hogan, right? Like 68 surgeries, dies at 72. 72 was old, but he had a heart attack. But that dude has a series of medical problems. All things in moderation, folks. All things in moderation. And the single most important thing that destroys a business is cash flow. And yet, for some reason, small business owners never get their head around it. Oh, you know what else he did, this guy? This guy went out and took credit card advances to meet payroll 2 weeks ago. Yeah, at 22% interest. Yeah. Can't make this stuff up. So the hole one of the first rules of digging out of a hole is stop digging. Stop digging the hole deeper. And when someone's trying to help you, grab their hand and let them pull you out of the hole. Yeah, I would have cost you 15 grand if I sold your business. I dare say the series of mistakes he just made are going to be wildly more than that number. You think?